Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you, the user, how to do a pick a player screen, how to do picking a player. So here I have a program running in Unity where there's two ships that you could play with. So the ship that you use is the one you click on. So if I click on this first one, then the level one will load and it will load with that ship. And then I can move back and forth with the arrow keys. And if I press escape, it goes back to the main menu and I could choose the other ship to play with, and it's the same level, but now it's using a different ship. So that's what I'm going to show how to do in this tutorial. So the code's already here. I'm just going to explain what's in here. First of all, I have these two ship models, and I happen to make them with magical voxel. So here's the second one. Here's the first one, the second one. So whichever ship model I made, here in Magical Voxel, there's another video for how to use Magical Voxel. Then afterward, I kind of took the model and I did an export as an OBJ. And when I exported it, I made sure that I went to the location of my Unity project. And that location is my assets folder. I made a models folder. And then here I have the first ship and the second ship. When you export as an OBJ, Magical Voxel makes 3 files. And when it comes up into Unity, it's this blue one here that I would first drag and drop to put the model in. A lot of times, the model's like way bigger than your other Unity objects. So I kind of like scaled them down, and then I made prefabs. I need the prefabs, okay? So here on the menu screen, this is the menu scene. I just have the two ship models here. I just put them there for you to choose from. And then I also added a canvas element with some text. And the text is choose your ship. So here, this white line here is outlining where the canvas element is. But if I want to see how it looks when the game plays, I just press game, the game view. And, choose your ship is the text I put in. Just the instructions. So here, choose your ship. All right, and by default, I turned overflow on horizontal and vertical, so no matter how much text I type, it shows it all. So other than putting those two ships in the menu screen, I had to add a script, to actually handle the picking of a ship. So I just added an empty game object. I said game object create empty, and then I renamed that to menu. I just clicked on it once and then I was able to rename it to menu. And then to that I added a script. So I basically just added an empty game object to the scene so I could put a script on it. And now here in the script is where I'm going to do the part of picking a ship. So when I open the menu script, first thing, since I'm going to be doing a thing where I'm loading a scene, I'm loading another scene from one scene to another, I have this Unity engine.scene management that I added a using statement for, and that's so I could have the scene manager object. All right, so what I said is here, the player, remember I clicked on a ship with my mouse. I picked the one I wanted. So I have to be able to detect which ship the person's clicking on. So here in the update function, it starts off with seeing if the user clicked the left mouse button. The code for left mouse button is 0. Then what I do is I make an array that goes from the camera to where I click the mouse. It goes from the camera to where I click the mouse. And then after that, I see if that ray hits any objects in my scene. So I make a raycast hit object, and then I use physics. I use the physics library raycast function, and I pass in the ray, the line, in 3D space. And I also pass in the hit. And this is an out for hit because the raycast is going to define if it hits something or not. So this ray that goes from the camera into the scene, if it hits anything, then the function returns true. Okay, so I hit something. So now I come into the if statement. I set this global variable prefab ship name, I set it to be the name of the game object that I hit, the name of the game object that I hit. So I have two of these objects here. This one is the TIE Fighter, is a TIE Fighter 299, and this one is the X Fighter 672. Okay, so those are just the names on the objects. And right here, that's what I do. The hit object, whatever it is, I use the transform game object, and I get the name of it. And then after I get the name of the object and set it to my global variable, then I have the scene manager load level 1. All right, so that explains what's in here, and you've looked at it enough to copy it. This thing called global variables, I'm going to explain that next. Global variables is a way for me to pass a value from one scene to another scene. So here with the menu script, I had public class menu, and it derived from mono behavior. So all the scripts that I attach to a game object, they usually derive from mono behavior. But this global variables class, it does not derive from mono behavior. And the other main thing is that it is static. So it's a public static global variables. So as soon as the Unity game starts up, this class exists. It exists for all the different scenes that I may have in my game. And inside this class, I have a public static string variable called ship prefab name. So that means this variable, ship prefab name, will also exist for all the scenes in my Unity game. So that's great. That means I could be in the scene called menu, and I could pick a ship, set the ship prefab name here in this scene, and then when I get to level 1, and I'm loading up the player and I got to pick which ship I'm going to show, I could use the global variables to see what ship name they picked in menu. Okay, so here when level 1 starts up, here's the player, and as you can see, the player, it doesn't have any model yet, but I have a script here, and for all the models that the person's going to be able to pick, I have it that we drag and drop all the models that are going to be available to choose from so that the player script knows what they are. I'm going to go in the player script here, and what happens is it too has a scene management thing. What happens is it's going to come to the start function, and it's going to switch based on the ship prefab name that was defined on the menu screen. And if it equals T-Fighter 299, then I'm going to instantiate prefab 1. If it equals X-Fighter 672, then I'm going to instantiate prefab ship 2. And when I instantiate them, the player game object is what it instantiates to. So it becomes a child of the player game object. Okay, so it's either the player is going to look like the prefab 1 or it's going to look like the prefab 2. Okay, and then over here in the update function, this is where I kind of move the ship back and forth. So I just get the input from the horizontal axis, and that means that you could use the joystick to move left or right, or you could use the keyboard to move left or right. And then when I get the axis value, that's where I translate, which is like move the ship to the left or the right, and that's because I'm affecting the X value over here, and I change it to the left or the right. Okay. Then over here, I just have a little thing that says if the user presses the escape key, then load back up the menu screen. All right. And did I show you the global variables? Yeah, just script. So I got 3 scripts. Okay. So the only other thing was there was another video I showed you that if you want to load a different scene, you have to be able to have the scenes to pick from. So you go to File, Build Settings, and let me bring that down. In the build settings, I just add all the different scenes that I want to be able to switch from. So I added the menu, I added the level. These are the 2 scenes. So as long as these scenes are here and you look at the name of them, that will mean that I could load them with a function like this one, scene manager load scene. Okay. And what this here is, this was just when I'm on the level 1 scene. If I press the 1 key, I will destroy the model and recreate the model as prefab ship 1. If I press the 2 key, I will destroy the model and I will recreate the model as prefab ship 2. Man, that's a lot. But hopefully if you just press pause in different parts of the video, you can type in the code and this code will work. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play it one more time. So I'm going to start from the menu screen, the menu scene, and I press play. And it should come up. There you go. See, this is my canvas element. I got the 2 ships here, and I pick a ship. And there's the first ship that I picked. And I move it back and forth with the arrow keys. And if I press number 2 on the fly, it should, it's not working. You know why it's not working? Because it says switch ships, but nothing is calling switch ships from the update function. So let's add that there. Boom. Now, let's go ahead and do it again. Let's play from the menu screen and press play. Okay, I pick a ship. That ship showing in the thing. I can move back and forth. Then if I press number 1, this switches to the first ship. I can move back and forth in the scene. If I press number 2, it switches to that ship, moves back and forth in the scene. If I press escape, I go back to the menu screen. All right, and that's almost it. Now there was something I was noticing when I was using models that I imported from Magic of Voxel, and that's how the shadow here has these lines in it. It has these like cracks in the shadow, and that bothered me, so I tried to figure out how do I get rid of those cracks. So that was happening in the level 1. So that has to do, the way I figured a way around it has to do with the light. So I have a directional light, and the shadow type is soft shadows, and the resolution is set to use quality settings. So what I did, the easiest way to do this is I just set the quality settings lower, and the lower I set them, the fuzzier the shadow was, and I didn't see the cracks. So now with the resolution low for the light shadows, if I press play, and I may have a problem here, gotta press 1 to get chip 1. Now if you see the shadow, it's not as evident that there's those cracks in the shadow. So, I mean, that was like a solution that I kind of used. The other method that I found that worked was, let's see if we put this back to use quality settings, was I played with the normal bias and I set it down lower, and you see the shadow solidified nicely. That's the other way I kind of handled it. So it's up to you which one you want to use. Okay, so that's how you pick a player, and there you go.